us. Great. Hi, everybody.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar with Prairie Clean Energy. My name's Mary Weimer, and I have the great pleasure of hosting this conversation and just leading Mark Cooper, who is the president and CEO of PCE, through some questions, get an update on what is going on at PCE. And it's a real thrill for me. I've been involved with the company since the very early days as an early investor. And so I've been watching, probably like many of you, with great fascination and excitement of all of the things that have been happening. So I think this will just be a nice opportunity. We've got 29 minutes to ask some questions. So let me start by just saying hello to you, Mark. And would you like to say hi to everybody?
Sure. Hi, Mary. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on this Q&A. I look forward to getting and answering some of your questions today, and really grateful to you, Mary, for agreeing to host. You're definitely the first choice, and we're glad you said yes. So thanks so much for agreeing to do this.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. This is going to be great. Before we get started with the first question, just a couple housekeeping things. So as you know, you're on a Zoom webinar. This is being recorded so that it can be shared with other interested people afterwards. Your cameras and your audio are muted. And if you have any questions that you would like to pose to Mark, please just add them into the chat at any point throughout the conversation. You don't have to wait for anything in particular. You can see there's some information that's been shared with you, a forward-looking statement, and just a few other details about the call today. So we're going to go through as many questions as we can. We've had some submitted ahead of time, which was sort of mentioned as a possibility when you signed up if you wanted to send your questions in advance. And then, as I mentioned, just drop it into the chat as it comes to mind for you. So Mark, are you ready to get going?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So I think a great way to kick it off would be just to have you give us a bit of an update on where is Prairie Clean Energy at right now.
Sure. Thanks for that, Mary. And I mean, on this question alone, I could probably spend 29 minutes. So I'm going to try not to do that because there's lots going on here at PCE, and as a company that's trying to do some things that nobody else has ever done before, and continually finding new things that we can do. There's lots of exciting things. So let me highlight a few, and then I'll stop talking and turn it back over to you. So first, one of the exciting ventures, we're the first Saskatchewan company ever to be featured on the FrontFundr platform, which is a crowdfunding platform in Canada here, and really designed to be able to bring investing to the masses. And so it allowed us to open up investment into Prairie Clean Energy to folks who weren't accredited investors. I'm very pleased to say that with 14 days left in our campaign, we're over 90% of our way to our target of $1.3 million, which we've raised. And so we're looking forward to closing that out over the next 2 weeks, and this being able to deliver this message to many people who are on here and who will be looking at this later is a big part of that. We've also launched the first version of a new software tool that we're deploying called our track and trace model that allows us to effectively track our inventory and our logistics of that inventory. So this is straw bales right from where they are in the field. We can geolocate the fields, the bales, and track all of that all the way through to delivery to our facilities, which is really important in terms of our ability to be able to track greenhouse gas emissions, but also control the costs of our inventory. We're actively buying straw in the market right now. This is the third year in a row that we are buying straw from farmers in Saskatchewan and also in Manitoba. We're buying up to about 30,000 tons this year. And so our team is actively engaged with farmers right now, signing contracts for straw that will be harvested in the next 6 weeks or so. As we know, harvest is already underway on the prairies, and it seems to be going well so far, which is great. I talked earlier about how we were the first Saskatchewan company in history to be featured on FrontFundr. We're also the first Saskatchewan company in history, at least that we're aware of, to have achieved a final application stage with the federal Agri-Innovate program. It's hard to believe that a program focused on innovation in agriculture had never advanced a Saskatchewan company to the final stage, but here we are. That's a $3 million application that we've put forward, and the application is really superb. The team did a great job on it, and we feel pretty confident that we're going to see support from that, which will just accelerate our ability to deliver value for our shareholders. We're also actively right now working through the specifics of a potential acquisition of our current pellet supplier in Manitoba. So that's an existing facility where we toll mill our pellets today that we're selling. So we're working through the details of that, and I anticipate that we'll be able to announce some more specifics of that in the next 60 or so days, maybe a little bit less than that. And we've just completed full engineering analysis of the Regina facility to ensure readiness of that facility when time comes for us to launch production at that facility. And the last piece that I want to highlight, this is the big news. We announced it probably about 6 weeks or so ago now, but we're in the process of filing our third patent. And it's specific to the decortication of flax straw. So what that means is we figured out how to separate the straw into its two component parts, fiber and shive. We pelletize the shive, which makes a denser, more effective pellet for energy markets. And the fiber we bundle and compress bale and can sell into markets like pulp and paper. So it adds and other biocomposites and biotextiles. So it opens up a whole new range of markets and a whole new product line for us, one that can be quite lucrative and really, again, drive value for the company and for shareholders. So we're really excited about that one, and happy to answer any questions about that or anything else.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. You've
Yeah.
had a busy few months. With this third patent that you were just mentioning, is this a process that you'll be able to undertake out of the Regina facility once the facility's up and going?
Yeah, so the fiber, the fiber process really fits well in our pellet process, so the two can operate
Okay.
seamlessly together, and it's a process that we could implement at any of our facilities actually, and so that'll really be driven by market demand, and we're still working through exactly what the scale of the demand in that market is. We know there are quite acute needs right now for fiber, but what the scale of that is, we're still trying to determine. So we know that there's enough demand for us to absolutely deploy it in our primary facility in Regina. Beyond that, it'll be driven by what we see coming from the market.
Okay. Wow, interesting. One thing that I feel like I've observed in this whole past few years is that it started out, at least from my perception, about pellets and biofuel and that sort of it for heat and power, the energy component. And it feels like as we go along, and it's really well laid out in the FrontFundr information, if anybody's interested in taking a look, but like the other opportunities.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe just touch on what some of those are?
Yeah. So fundamentally, as a business, our core focus is actually on the front end of our business plan. We have a simple one-page image that shows our business plan, and the front end of that is about the aggregation of straw, right? We are the only company on the Canadian prairies that's actively aggregating and processing flax straw. We're actually the only legally registered buyer in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. We think that provides us a real clear competitive advantage in terms of our ability to secure that straw. So that's what we focus on so that we can deliver our products to any number of markets. And so broadly speaking, I think we could call the market that we sell into the bioeconomy, which is just a really big term that includes things like bioheat, so burning the pellets for heat or power. It includes the production of liquid fuels like sustainable aviation fuel, renewable natural gas, clean hydrogen, or clean ammonia. It includes using the pellets as industrial absorbents, which we've done. It includes using them in novel applications like horse bedding or animal litter, which are unusual for a company that calls itself Clean Energy, but critical because they're very high margin, right? High demand, high margin, and that allows us then to protect many of our investors from further dilution and to reinvest in the company. And so we think that's a key feature of playing into those markets. On the fiber side, pulp and paper. So flax fiber has been used in specialty papers for decades. It's the supply of it is under increasing stress because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. There's a lot of flax fiber. Over 40% of the world's flax is grown here on the prairies. And so we can bring that fiber to market now at a scale that no other company on earth can. and our ability to supply that into markets like pulp and paper, biotech or textiles, linens, and biomaterials and biocomposites. So there's companies like BMW, for instance, that are today using flax fiber as a replacement for plastics. So lots of novel applications. We're just learning to understand what is involved in that fiber market, but we know the demand is quite high, and yeah, it's really spread out all across that bioeconomy.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Let's get into some of the questions. So we have a few that were submitted ahead of time, but I appreciate those that have dropped them into the chat. So let's start with those ones.
Sure.
The first question that has come in from Sherry. So I understand the shares are a liquid. What is the procedure to sell the shares should I want to? And also, what is the minimum holding period before I can sell shares if I decide to buy?
Perfect. Well, thanks, Sherry, for those questions. Great to hear from you. So I'm going to, there's kind of two parts to the second question. So I'll answer the first one first about the procedure to sell the shares. So for any investor who holds shares in Prairie Clean Energy, if they wish to, they can sell their shares at any time if they wish to. The first step is that they have to approach the company to tell them that they intend to sell the shares. Like they can go out and talk to other people and get potential pricing and things for the sale of their shares, but the company gets the first right to match any sale offering that they have, and then existing shareholders get the second right to match. So any shareholder is free to sell their shares at any time to anybody that they wish. They just have to give the company or other shareholders the right to buy those shares first. So hopefully that answers the first question. The second question about minimum holding period. So for most shareholders, there is no minimum holding period. Once you buy the shares, they're yours to deal with as you see fit, as long as you follow the procedures I just outlined. There is one exception to that, and I'm going to maybe get the holding period wrong. So if I do, maybe somebody can correct me in the chat. But if you are an accredited investor in Saskatchewan, and you invest using the Saskatchewan Technology Startup Incentive. So that's the STSI tax credit that's available to Saskatchewan-based accredited investors. That tax credit gives you 45% tax credit for any investment you make in Prairie Clean Energy. So it de-risks your investment. So if you invest 10,000, it's as if you only invested 5,500, if my math is right on that. So that's good. It's great for you as an investor, but there is a minimum holding period required if you take advantage of that tax credit. And I think it's 3 years. Someone from my team will correct it in the chat if I'm wrong on that, but that only applies if you're eligible for that tax credit.
Okay. Great, thank you. Sherry, if you have any follow-ups, you can put those in the chat. So this next question is around competitors, which you have touched on a little bit. So who are PCE's main competitors and what differentiates Prairie Clean Energy from them?
Sure. So I think that there are two ways of looking at this. First is competitors for the straw, because that's important. Our key input, the one raw material that we use today is flax straw, although we have tested a range of other straws, canola straw, barley straw, others, but flax straw is our primary, pretty much exclusive input for our process. That straw is owned by farmers, right? It's not ours. And so it's really important that we maintain our dominant position in the marketplace as the sole purchaser of flax straw. So the way we do that is, first of all, we're registered in both Manitoba and Saskatchewan to do that, which is a legal requirement. And as I said, we're the only company registered in both places to do that. And we have long-term right of first refusal agreements signed with farmers, so multi-year agreements that put us in a position where if they're going to sell the straw, they have to give us the option to buy it. And so that's an important way of securing that supply for us, which is really key. So today we really don't have any competitors in that space, but we will. And our goal is to rapidly expand our long-term contracts with farmers across the Prairie region. So not just in Saskatchewan, but further in Manitoba, North Dakota, Minnesota, and elsewhere, so that anybody who wants access to flax straw has to come through Prairie Clean Energy to get it. And we're well on our way to that. On the supply side, in terms of our products, our competitors differ depending on which market we're talking about. But generally speaking, we are competing against suppliers of wood products. So that would be wood pellets, wood chips in some cases, wood shavings in the bedding circumstances or in litter, clay on the litter side. There's a few things that I think distinguish us from all of those competitors. First, we're the only one, well, the only one of the ones that I've mentioned that have that are solely focused on delivering a sustainable product that has no other market uses, right? And so there's no tree is harmed in the production of any of our pellets, right? And I think that's an important differentiator in some cases. I would say that in addition to that, we're focused on adding products that are also providing income for farmers, which is another important distinguishing feature for us. So there's a social sustainability aspect. And our product performs equally or better than our competitor products in the marketplace across all of our product lines. And so that's an important differentiator as well. And so we're well positioned to compete. And because of the production processes that our team has unlocked, especially in the retail markets, we can price more competitively than our natural fiber competitors can because our production levels are much higher. And so we're really in a unique position to be able to compete effectively in terms of having a high quality, high sustainable, all natural product that can also be priced competitively.
Okay, great. And Brita was able to confirm that the STSI holding period is 3 years. So your memory is correct. Well done.
Thank you.
So we've got another question here from Raymond around developers of the software. Who is writing the code?
Sure. So Raymond, you're probably talking about the track and trace program, and we have a pretty solid team, both internally and externally through grant partners that we're working with. I'm not going to get into the specifics of who's writing the code, but what's I think important to note is that Prairie Clean Energy owns the code and owns all of the intellectual property related to it. The initial version of the track and trace was developed via a provincially funded grant program and through PCE contributions by partners at the Saskatchewan Polytechnic. And the next versions of the program that we are anticipating developing we're in discussions right now with team members that will lead that project, and we're not in a position to be able to announce that yet, but hopefully that answers a bit of your question.
Okay, wonderful. Let's get into some of these submitted questions ahead of time. So you mentioned this earlier, Russian invasion of Ukraine, just the political environment that we live in today in this global world. So global politics, like how will that affect pellet use? And, could pellet use be put out of business by other alternative fuels? So kind of a two-part question there.
Yeah, so it so happens that I noticed that in our list of participants, we have probably the world's foremost expert on that question. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but we have Dr. Bill Strauss, and I've listened to him speak at innumerable conferences where he answers that question. And so I'm going to do my best version of paraphrasing some of the things that he has said. But what I would note is that, there's no medium-term or short-term risk really to the horizon opportunities for pellets. There are new pellet energy facilities, power facilities being built all the time around the world, facilities converting from coal to biomass. And, if you look at the big, in my opinion, the big, potential competitors there, you might talk about something like nuclear, but there's lots of pros and cons to that, lots of concerns around safety of that. There isn't those same kind of concerns around biomass, and we know for sure that the deploying of biomass pellets is a significant improvement over the use of coal facilities, and there's no shortage of demand. We're going to see places like Taiwan, which has, if this is still correct, has a very massive coal production that needs to convert away from that. They're going to be hungry for sources. They don't have a lot of native sources, and they're going to be looking for sources of biomass that come from secure, stable, long-term suppliers. And so that's going to push the demand for pellets further afield, away from traditional sources on coastal forests and other things like that. And what we're seeing, and seeing increasing interest in Prairie Clean Energy from around the world, is because people are realizing that agricultural biomass may be a key opportunity for that, and that at least here on the Canadian and US prairies, Prairie Clean Energy is really in a leading position to be able to provide that supply to the market. So I think that global trends continue to work in our favor and will continue to work in our favor for the long term. Part of the way we insulate ourselves against the fact that that could shift is by being active in multiple different markets, right? So we're not just focused on supplying to energy facilities, but we're looking to supply to a range of different markets around the world.
Right. Okay. Excellent. This is another submitted question, which I think just comes off perfectly after that one. What are the main risks facing the company, and how are they being managed? And
Sure.
we have this is like the Olympics of the
Yeah.
of Q&A. We only have 9 minutes
Yeah.
left, and
Okay.
we still have a few. So
Okay, so on the risk
leave it with
side, I
you.
think I've talked a lot about straw supply already, right? So you, as a company that is dependent on straw supply, we need to manage the risk of losing access to that supply as the number one thing. And it is the number one thing on the minds of me and my team. And really being focused on making sure that we have amazing relationships with farmers, and we continue to build those relationships in ways that are profitable for farmers. So that is so that's number one. Number two is market risk, and so that's why we try and deploy across a range of markets and not just be dependent on any one market. Processing risk is another one. Like, can we continue to meet our processing targets? And the way we have mitigated that risk is by not inventing any new equipment on our own, right? Rather than reinventing the wheel, we figured out how to make the wheel better and how to use existing wheels and combine them together into some kind of form of car that does what we need it to do. It's a really bad metaphor, but you get the idea that, we're not using novel technology, we're using novel applications of existing technology, so that helps mitigate that risk too. So to me, supply risk, we're managing it on top of, processing risk, we're managing it on top of, and market risk, we're managing it on top of.
Okay. Excellent. So another question here, very specific to investors. So for investors who hold an original note of investment, can that investment be traded for shares?
Right. So the short answer is, I think this comes from Jan, one of our early investors as well, who had a convertible note. The short answer is it will convert to shares at the completion of the holding period. But yes, there are multiple mechanisms in which that can be triggered to convert.
Okay, excellent. A very specific question from Debro. What do you pay for flax straw?
Sure. Well, thanks for the question, Debro. So it depends on the distance of the straw from our facility, and it depends on whether the farmer is baling it themselves or we're putting in custom balers to come and do the baling. So in our model, we have some money paid for the storage and access to the straw and storage of straw, for the baling of the straw, and for transportation of the straw. And for every farmer that we engage with, we allow them to make the decision about which components of that value chain they want to capture. It makes it a little more complex on our end, but it sticks with our philosophy of being a farmer first kind of organization and building it around what their needs are. And so what we pay depends largely on how much the farmer wants to do of that work and how far away they are from our facility.
Okay, very good. Now this question from Ian speaks to, other aspects of the bioeconomy we haven't really even gotten into, the transportation biofuel, so sustainable aviation fuel. How much flax does it take to produce a measure of SAF?
Yeah, so I have no idea.
All right.
I've got no. And I know that the use of flax straw in the production here is a mechanism for decarbonizing the power that's needed to produce the liquid fuels. And so We do have members on our team like Dr. Mahmoud Abadian, who may be better positioned to answer that question. And so maybe we can take that offline with Ian, and if you want to send us a note, Ian, we can follow up with that. I apologize, I don't know the answer on that one, but yeah, I can't answer everyone.
Yeah, and Brita has just put in the email, and I think for Mark directly, but also just any questions that we didn't get to today, or you want more detail or didn't get answered enough, just send the email and we'll follow up. To finish off, like in these last 5 minutes, you've talked about a lot of things that are going on. Can you tell us a little bit about the roadmap over the next, maybe as you get through the rest of 2024, 2025, like what are some of those key things that you're aiming to hit?
For sure. So, I mean, we continue to be in production of pellets through our 12 mil facility in Manitoba and selling those pellets into the markets here in North America. But we anticipate by November of this year, maybe even a little earlier, but by November, that we'll be in greater level of production of those pellets that'll be sold into the North American retail market. So we're going to be expanding our production and our sales into those markets this year. By June of next year, so June of 2025, we're going to be producing fiber likely from our main facility here in Regina for the specialty pulp and paper industry. And so we anticipate delivering fiber and selling to customers by June of next year, which is very exciting because it's really meeting a really time-based and critical industry need. So by the end of 2025, we'll have 2 operational facilities. We'll have a third one probably in the US, although that we're still working through the details of that by 2026. And based on the fiber markets and what we're finding in the retail markets with the pellets, we anticipate being in a position to be able to provide our shareholders with some kind of return as early as 2026, which was not something that 6 months ago we had been contemplating, but the market has just shifted in a way, and our production has developed in such a way that we think we're going to be in a position to be able to do that. And there's no guarantee of that, but that's certainly what we're anticipating right now. So that's what I see as the next 24-month roadmap, and should put us in a great position to expand from there.
Great, excellent. And why don't you just take the last couple of minutes to any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the group that you haven't touched on?
Yeah, okay. So I would say, first of all, for those of you who are considering investing, and I hope you all are, especially after the conversation today, now's a great time to do it. You can visit www.frontfundr.com. The paperwork and process is really straightforward. Whether you're an accredited investor or not, you can invest for as little as $500. If you are an accredited investor, you can invest more, of course. And if you're an accredited investor from Saskatchewan, you can take advantage of the tax credit, which I referenced earlier, which will reduce your investment by 45%. A reminder that if you're investing through that platform, you can also invest, if you're Canadian, through your RRSP or TFSA or LIRA. So it just adds another mechanism by which you can invest. And there's only 2 weeks left to do that. You can also invest directly, though, through Prairie Clean Energy. So if you feel more comfortable reaching out to myself or to anybody on our team, you can send an email to investment@prairiecleanenergy.com, and we'd be happy to discuss the specifics of your investment that way.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I think we've just about got to the top of the hour. So thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to everyone who attended, who asked great questions and sent questions in advance. We really appreciate the interest. And there's some great links there to check out FrontFundr, and of course, Mark's personal email for all of your detailed questions. And we hope you all have a wonderful day. And please make sure you're following Prairie Clean Energy on LinkedIn, so that you can keep up to date on everything that is happening.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much,
much, Mark.
Mary. Thank you, Mary. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.